Hello friends, my name is Jess and welcome back to my channel, Books Past Bedtime, and welcome to day 8, I think, of vlogmas slash bookmas. So for me, 2022 was the year of Kindle Unlimited. I read so many books from KU. I think a total of 74 is how many books I read from KU. So I thought it would be fun to do a little tier ranking video of all the books that I read on KU so that you guys can know which ones I think are worth it if you have a Kindle Unlimited subscription, or maybe this video will convince you to get one for 2023 because in my opinion, definitely worth it. Some of my favorite books I read this year were from KU. I have a lot of books to get through, so let's go ahead and get into it. I will pull up my tier rank now. Alright, so please ignore the ugly ads on the side. There's no real way for me to do this without those ads and for you to be able to see everything, so we're just rolling with it. First things first, of course, let's go through my tiers. So the S tier, the number 1 tier, is Slay the House Down, Boots, Houston, I'm Deceased. For obvious reasons, these are like 6-star books, the best of the best, creme de la creme, nothing gets better than this. The next tier down is called 5 stars, but not 5 stars, you know? These are books that I obviously rated 5 stars or 4.5 that I absolutely loved, really wouldn't change anything about, but they are not like at the same level as the books in the tier above. I feel like as we go, it'll make sense how I delineate those books, but there's definitely a big difference. The next tier is a smutty fun time. These are books where like the smut was maybe better than the writing or the plot. Still a fun time, still a good read. Definitely didn't regret reading them, but they're not incredible works of literature, you know? The next tier is called Trash, But I'm a Dumpster Diver. I got this from somebody else. I didn't come up with this, but I thought it was so funny, and it just perfectly describes those books on KU that are so trashy, but like you eat up anyway, because there's definitely quite a few books in this list that this applies to, and we will talk about them when we get to them. They're definitely not good. I probably wouldn't recommend them to anyone. They're actually pretty trash, but I still enjoyed my time with them. The next tier is Go Girl, Give Us Nothing. These are for books that gave us nothing. I feel like for the most part, these are going to be books that I didn't like enough to remember, and there are some of those, so that's what's going to go in this category. And then the final category is Immediately No. These are for books I rated 1 star or DNF'd or just otherwise hated. There's a couple of those as well, so we have the full gamut, and I think these are going to be fun tiers to sort everything in. Alright, let's jump right into it. So the first book here is Kidnapped by the Pirate by Kira Cass. Not by Kira Cass. No, this book is by Kira Andrews. Honestly, this is what it sounds like, what it looks like. Our main character is kidnapped by a pirate, falls in love with said pirate, and they just have a smutty time together. So this book is the perfect candidate for a smutty fun time because Kira Andrews' writing style is really good, but this isn't one of my favorite books by her. I was reading it for the smut more so than anything else, so this book belongs in this category for sure. The next book, called Let Me In by Luna David. This is an age gap daddy kink romance, and I'm gonna put this one in Trash, But I'm a Dumpster Diver because it is 100% trash. Like, it is the epitome of a trashy book, but I still really liked it and ate it up. No shame there, so it's going in that category. The next 3 books we have are all from the Fake Boyfriend series by Eden Finley. The whole shtick of this series is that they all are like different fake dating scenarios, and one person in each partnership is like a professional athlete in some capacity. And honestly, these books, boring. I can't even really remember what they're about enough to like differentiate them in my mind. They're all the same to me. I did like the first book in this series, but the rest of them, I read the first book last year, so it's not in this ranking. It's just 2, 3, and 4, and I didn't even finish the series because I felt like it would have been a waste of time. I didn't feel like finishing it, didn't like it enough. So actually all 3 of these are gonna go in Go Girl, Give Us Nothing. And I just feel like that's where they belong. The next book here is Honeythorn by Mariana Vivancos. This is an Omegaverse arranged marriage romance. I do really like the arranged marriage trope, and there are quite a few Omegaverse in here. I like reading it every once in a while. For this one, I'm between a smutty fun time and Trash, But I'm a Dumpster Diver. Honestly, I feel like I'm gonna put it in Trash, But I'm a Dumpster Diver. I think that that's where it belongs because I really wouldn't call this book a fun time. The romance is kind of weird because like the first 50% of the book book, there's like no romance. And then it takes a really long time for the love interest to like thaw towards our main character. And then after that, after they like clear up the misunderstanding between them, it gets better and it gets fluffier, but the first half, not as good. So I don't want to put it in a smutty fun time because I feel like that's for like a well-written smutty book. And I don't know that this one is that. I feel like it belongs in this category, but it's almost kind of between the two. Want Me by Neve Wilder, on the other hand, is actually a book I DNF'd because it was all smut and no feelings, and I like a good balance. I need the fluff and I need to know why these two are attracted to each other. I'm not just reading smut to read smut. I want to read smut between people who are in love. So I'm gonna put this in the immediately no category. The next book is One Wild Heat by Kellix. I'm gonna put this in the trash category. It is another Omegaverse romance. This one is MPreg as well, so it's a little bit even more trash than some of the others in this category. But it was hot, so I'm leaving it there. Okay, Reading the Signs by Kara Andrews. Fucking love this book. This is age gap, kind of like BDSM, like light BDSM baseball romance. It's going in Slay the House Down, Boots Houston, I'm Deceased, because that's how this book makes me feel. It is incredible. 6 stars. I loved it so much. The characters in this book are just the best. I love them both so much. And their romance is just the sweetest thing. The freaking smut scenes are so hot. Oh my god. No one does it like Kara Andrews. No one does it like her. Next, The Witch is Familiar. I don't remember who the author is, and I can't see it in this little thing, but anyway, it's gonna go in the Go Girl Give Us Nothing category. This is a shifter romance and it kind of has like a mystery plot going on, but honestly, after I read it, I felt like I could not remember anything about it that happened. It didn't really do much for me. Next in the category is The Alpha's Warlock by Elliot Grayson. I feel like most of these books belong in the smutty fun time category. This is a series, it's called the Mismatched Mate series by Elliot Grayson. There's like, I don't know, 8 of these books. And this is the first one in the series actually, and I feel like almost all of them belong in that category because they are all like shifter Omegaverse romances, but they do have like a solid fantasy world that they're set in. The writing is really good. The characters are like kind of annoying sometimes, and I definitely like some books in the series better than others, but there's a lot more substance to these than like just the Omegaverse smut kind of thing. Like there's genuine plots. Like I said, the world is cool, so I'm gonna go through and like pick out them all and put them in the smutty fun time category because none of them are like 5 stars, but they're all like pretty good, pretty decent. So the first one is The Alpha's Warlock. The second is Captive Mate, which is probably one of my least favorites in the series, but I don't feel like this series is trashy in the same way that some of these other books are trashy, and not trashy in a bad way, but like, you know what I mean. A Very Armitage Christmas is like a novella that's set in that series. The Alpha Experiment is one of the books in that series, as is Lost and Bound. Lost Touch, which I didn't actually like that much. I didn't like that one very much. I might actually put that one in Go Girl Give Us Nothing. They're all gonna go in the same category. That's too much. All right, now they're all in the smutty fun time category. I don't actually know if they're in the correct order, but they're close to being in the correct order. All right, the next book we have here is Say You'll Be 9. I think it's by Lucy Lennox, if I'm not mistaken. I hated this book. I gave it 1 star. I just thought it was so poorly written. It's like a sexual awakening story. These 2 men make like a YouTube renovation show together, and the one realizes that he's not straight and he loves the other guy, and it was just really badly written. The dialogue was so cringy and everything that happened was not cute, so I'm gonna put it in the immediately no category. Also going in the immediately no category is Sailing with Her Wolf by Ariel Marie. This is a female-female Omegaverse romance. I was trying to broaden my horizons and find sapphic KU books that I liked, and it just didn't go well. This was a really poorly written book, very sexually charged, almost felt like it was written by a man in a way, like just the way the women in this book were sexualized felt icky to me. And I like a good smutty female-female romance. I read a lot of like indie and traditionally published ones, but the ones I found on KU so far haven't worked for me. So if you have any recommendations, please tell me. I'm always looking for that. But yeah, that one was not it. I actually ended up DNFing that book. All right, Power Plays and Stray Days by Eden Finley and Saxon James. This is the first book in the CU Hockey series. This was one of the first series, I think maybe actually the first series that I binged on KU, and I was obsessed. I feel like this was like my gateway drug into KU this series was. Very grateful to it for that because I read so many good books this year, and it all kind of started with these. And I did rate books 1 through 4 5 stars, so I'm gonna put all of them in the 5 stars but not 5 stars category because although I love them to death, they are not quite the same to me as some of the other books that are going to go in that category. Face Off and Cheap Shots is the second book. Goal Lines and First Times is the third book. And Line Mates and Study Dates is the fourth book. It's really hard for me to pick a favorite from this series because I love all of them. I definitely think of these 4, Power Plays and Stray Days is my least favorite. I feel like Line Mates and Study Dates might be my number 1 just because I really love Asher as a character so much. Goal Lines and First Times though is like a very, very close second because it has demisexual rep in it, which I loved, and it's got that anonymous trope in it where the characters are talking to each other online and also know each other in real life but don't know that these 2 people that they're interacting with are the same person. And like the scene where they discover who they're talking to is so good. I just loved it. I was screaming. And of course, Face Offs and Cheap Shots is like everyone's favorite. It is so good. But yeah, I do really love that series. But I will say that the 5th book in this series I did not like very much. And I really think it should maybe just not have been written. I can't even find it. There it is. Puck Drills and Cheap Thrills is the 5th book in that series, and it follows Asher's older brother and a professor at their college, and I just was not a fan. I didn't like the dynamic, and I didn't like the way they treated my baby Asher in this book, so I didn't like this one. I gave it 2 stars. Is it immediately no category, or is it go girl give us nothing? I feel like it gave me too much, so I'm gonna put it in the immediately no category, which I feel like is a little harsh, and it's not as bad as the other books in this category, but that's where it's going. All right, the next book that is coming up here is Feral by Alexandra Hazard. This is the 2nd book in this series. Unnatural over here is the 1st book in the series. I'm gonna put Unnatural and Feral, the 1st and the 2nd book in the series, both in a smutty fun time. These are both Omegaverse books, and they are very, very smutty in like a very, very satisfying way. I also think the characters and the storyline's really good. Like I genuinely really enjoyed these books, but they're not 5 stars. But they're also not trash, you know, like they were a smutty fun time. Although the 3rd book in this series, which is called Illicit, is gonna go in the trash, but I'm a dumpster diver category because it is very taboo. And I feel like a lot of people would think it's trash, but I just dove right in, you know, like, I don't know. That's probably a red flag for me if you look up what this book is about, but I liked it. Let's move on. The next book here is Bad Habits by Neve Wilder and Only James. This is like a age gap stepbrothers kind of, or like the one guy adopted the other guy and I'm not making this any better. This was like friends to strangers to lovers, I guess, is like the best way to describe it. And then there's this weird like government hacker mafia plot going on, which was honestly too much, but I'm gonna put it in the Go Girl Give Us Nothing category because honestly it was not a very memorable story. It was like kind of similar to other stuff that Only James has written and not as good. So I'm gonna put it in that category because it's a forgettable story in my opinion. Precious by Ro Horvat is a book that I just read in November, and I'm gonna put it in the trash but I'm a dumpster diver category because I've said this in multiple other videos, but this is the filthiest fucking book I have ever read in my life. Like, it is dirty. Takes dirty to a new level, but here I was eating it up. The next book here is Bat Boy by Christina Lee. This is a friends to lovers baseball romance, and it was so childish. I ended up DNFing this book. The one guy literally comes in his pants from cuddling. I'm like, is that even possible? As soon as that happened, I was like, no. Goodbye, DNF. That is going in the immediately no category. The book right next to it, Pretty Boy by I don't remember who, is also going to go in the immediately no category. This is a book that I wished I DNF'd. This is an age gap daddy kink romance, and the like daddy in this book literally sees a guy at this bar and he just is like, you're coming home with me. And the kid's like, okay. I need a little bit more context and reasoning and build up behind that. That was a lot for me and I did not like it. I also just really thought this book was like poorly written. The next book is Endangered Species by Only James, and I feel like this book is the definition of Go Girl Give Us Nothing. This is a stepbrothers romance that takes place in prison, but it was like the most fluffy, boring romance I've ever read in my life. How can something that like screams taboo when you describe it give us nothing? This literally gave me nothing. It still baffles me. That's where it belongs. The next book is called The Dragon Prince's Daddy, which is exactly what it sounds like. It's a daddy kink book with dragon shifters, and I'm gonna put it in the immediately no category. It was really badly written. Honestly, like it could have gone in the trash I'm a dumpster diver category, but I really didn't like it very much and I really thought it was like more trash than fun. There weren't a lot of redeemable qualities about this book. Is ending up in this category. Next book we have here is Breaking Free. I'm pretty sure that this is like an enemies to lovers, sexual awakening, soccer teammates story, but I don't really remember because it was not a very memorable book, so it's going in the Go Girl Give Us Nothing tier where it belongs. Next is Read Between the Lines by Rachel Lacey, which I'm not quite sure where to put. I feel like it's gonna go in the 5 stars but not 5 stars category, even though this was a 4-star read, but it wasn't like a smutty fun time. I mean, it does have some smut in it, but it reads more like a traditionally published romance, and it's female, it's enemies to lovers between a bookshop owner and the landlord that wants to shut her bookshop down, and it was really cute and fun and sweet. But it wasn't a 5-star book for me, but it doesn't belong in any of the other categories, so it's gonna live there for now. All right, the next books that are showing up here are the books in the Monstrous series by Lily Mayne. The first book, The Soul Eater, is a 5-star, but not 5-star book, you know, because this book started out as a short story, and I feel like when it was expanded, it didn't really need to be expanded, and there were parts in it that definitely could have been cut. If you didn't know, this is a monster romance series. Each book is about a monster falling in love with a human man. In this first book, this infamous monster named the Soul Eater rescues Danny from a life in the army that he didn't want, and they spend a lot of time like just traveling aimlessly across the plains of the United States and nothing really happens. So it definitely has a slow burn, and I think some of that journeying could have been cut out, and then this book would have been like, I would defend it with my life, you know? But I do think that there are better books in this series. For example, the second book, Eden, which belongs in the Slay the House Down Boots category, as does The Reek, the third book in the series. Gloam, the fourth book in the series, on the other hand, belongs in the Go Girl Give Us Nothing category because it was very boring. There was not a lot of smut, and I didn't really like the love interests in this book. They were boring. I feel like the same goes for Win, which is a novella in this series that actually comes between The Reek and Gloam, and this follows the first couple, Win and Danny, on like a side excursion, and it's really just fluff. It advances the plot, but in a way that could have been an email. I'm gonna put it in Go Girl Give Us Nothing category, even though honestly I liked it better than Gloam. The fifth book in this series, Moth, of course, belongs in the top tier for sure, even more so than the other books in this series. The last book, Seraph, I'm gonna put it in the top category as well. It is also a slay. Seraph is a slay. There's this one smut scene in it that I think about maybe once a day. I'm not even gonna lie. I'm just gonna leave it at that. If you've read this book, which I don't know that anyone watching this has, you probably know what I'm talking about. There's one in Eden like that also that I think about much too often. Moth too, honestly. I'm revealing too much about myself, but I do think about the smut in these books a lot because it's just that good. All right, the next book here is Something Fabulous by Alexis Hall, which is like a Regency romp of a historical romance. It's so much fun. It's funny. People hate it a lot, but I didn't. I gave it 5 stars. So it's gonna go in the 5-star category because I loved it, but not as much as the other books in the category above it. Next on the list is the Necessary Evil series by Only James. Obviously, I love this series. I'm wearing a sweatshirt for it. This is a series about the Mulvaney brothers, who are all psychopaths and were adopted as children and raised to be vigilante killers by their pseudo-father. Each book follows a different brother and his romance, and they are fabulous. They're amazing. The first book, Unhinged, is my absolute favorite. Adam and Noah are one of my favorite couples that I have read about this year, so Unhinged is definitely a slay. The second book, Psycho, I'm gonna put in the 5-star category. Psycho Psycho might be my second favorite. I did really like it. The third book, Moonstruck, I'm gonna put in a smutty fun time. That one might actually be my least favorite in the series. The fourth book, Headcase, is a 5-star book. I really liked that one a lot. It has some very fun BDSM sex scenes that I really like. And then Madman, the fifth book, is gonna go in a smutty fun time as well. I didn't like this one as much. And then the sixth book, Lunatic, I feel like I'm gonna put that one in a smutty fun time as well. Like, I feel like, yeah, I think that's accurate. I definitely like Unhinged the best, and then Psycho and Headcase are up there too. But then Moonstruck, Madman, and Lunatic are just kind of like a smutty fun time. The category header says it all. All right, next we have The Necromancer's Light by Avia Lark. This is a fantasy romance. It has this really interesting trope where our lead character, the necromancer, has to like touch other people in order to maintain his power and not die. And he hires his bodyguard to help him get across this like treacherous land and get to where he needs to go. They have to cozy up together. So I really liked that trope. And of course, they fall in love and it's so cute. Avia Lark is one of my new favorite authors this year. I wish she had more books because I am obsessed. This is going in the 5-star category. There are some better books by her that I absolutely loved. Next book, Omega's Gamble by Claire Cullen. I'm gonna put this in the immediately no category. This was like a really silly, poorly written Omegaverse book. And the purpose of like me reading these books is for the smut. And this had one smut scene at the very end. I'm like, what kind of Omegaverse book is a slow burn? Okay, what is the purpose of that? Immediately no. The next book coming up here is Frat Wars by Saxon James. This is a college romance series about these two rival frats at this university and the romances that happen between their members. I thought the series was so fun. It's just a good time and I really enjoyed reading it this year. I'm gonna put them all honestly in the 5-star category because I do think that they're like genuinely really good and fun, but they're not 6-star material. But I rated them all 5 stars because I just loved them. So they're all gonna go in that category. Honestly, I don't remember what they're all individually called, but they're all gonna go in that category, so it doesn't really matter. Master of Mayhem is the second book, and Presidential Chaos is the third book. So there they are, all in the 5-star category. The next book here is Savage Rivals by Becca Steele, and this is an enemies to lovers between two rival, I think that they play soccer captains at two like rival schools. It's really good. It has one of the best like first kiss scenes ever because they just hate each other so much, but their chemistry is electric. It just rises off the page. And then this has one of the best like who hurt you scenes in it. Chef's kiss, incredible. I feel like I'm gonna put it in the 5-star category, but honestly it's kind of in between the slay category and the 5-star category. I'm gonna put it in the slay category. It's really good. On the other hand, Open Ice Hit is an enemies to lovers hockey romance, and I'm gonna put it in Go Girl Give Us Nothing. It was not the most well written, and I definitely read better things this year, and I honestly don't remember it that much, so that's the category it belongs in. Next though, The Wed to the Barbarian duology by Kira Andrews is so good. Definitely one of my favorite fantasy romances of the year. These are both a slay. They are going in the top category. The first one's called Wed to the Barbarian, and the second book is called The Barbarian's Vow. They are both slay the house boots down, Houston I'm deceased. I would die for these books. Sweetest Hate by, I think it's by Balin Crow. I'm gonna put in Go Girl Give Us Nothing. This is an enemies to lovers, forced proximity, brother's best friend kind of story. And it was just not very well written. Like, if you like those tropes, I guess. But it definitely wasn't a memorable book, and it definitely wasn't anything to write home about. The next book is called Snuggle Season by Amy Bellows. This is a Fox Shifter Omegaverse romance. You know, it was really cute, so I'm gonna put it in trash but I'm a dumpster diver because it is definitely trash, but I did eat it up. It was really cute. It actually has a really solid Goodreads rating too, so I'm not the only one, okay? I'm not the only one. The next book is Kiss and Cry by Kira Andrews, which was my first Kira Andrews and what really catapulted me into falling in love with her in her writing. This is an enemies to lovers ice skating romance. I would recommend for sure. Honestly to everyone, but particularly if you want From Luke Off with Love, but better vibes. Next book is The Aliens Kidnapped Omega, which is exactly what it sounds. It's an Omegaverse story between an alien and a human, and the alien kidnaps the human. I'm gonna put this in trash, but I'm a dumpster diver. It definitely is not a very good book, but it definitely was not forgettable, and it definitely wasn't something I hated. I read it in one night, so I'm gonna put it in that category. Okay, and Cherry Vine by Vivancos is the second book to Honeythorn, and I'm gonna go ahead and put it right beside that story. It's very similar. It's another like Omegaverse arranged marriage kind of book, and it was a fun read. That's really all it was. So Boyfriend Goals by, I can't remember who this is by, is an immediate no from me. I actually ended up DNFing this book. I thought it was really poorly written. It's about like a bookstore owner and a tattoo artist. I honestly didn't even get more than like 10-15% into this book because it was just so poorly written. The dialogue was so cringy that I could not take it. So I really don't know a lot about what this book is, but I did not like it. It's all I know. Next is Roman. I think it's by Gray Bryan. I'm gonna put it in the 5-star category. This is a fated mates vampire romance, and it was so good. I really enjoyed it, but I wouldn't die for it. Next is Claimed by the Orc Prince, and I don't remember who that one's by either. That one was a smutty fun time. I'm pretty sure it's an arranged marriage between an elf and an orc, and it was very cute and very sweet and very like communicative and also smutty and fun. It's a great match for this category. The next two books are by Tavia Lark, literally favorite fantasies of the whole year. I am obsessed with these books. First book is Prince and Assassin, and the second book is Prince in Disguise. This series follows these three princes who are brothers of this kingdom and their individual respective romances. The first book follows Julian, who is the middle child, and Julian ends up falling in love with Whisper, who is working in the castle, but he is working undercover and has actually been assigned to assassinate Julian. So that's a fun twist, but they're so fucking cute together, and I just loved the build. It was so good. Oh my god, I loved it so much. And then the next book, Prince in Disguise, is about youngest prince, Bellamy, and it's kind of a case of mistaken identity. He falls in with this dragon rider guy, and they are both imprisoned together after a mishap and like strike up a deal to get one another home out knowing each other's true identities, and they end up falling in love. It's also so freaking cute. I don't know, Tavia Lark just creates these really rich fantasy worlds and these really lovely characters who I just fall in love with, and I just love this world. The third book comes out in January and I'm so freaking excited for it. I cannot wait. All right, 5 books left. We're almost done. The next book here is Blindsided by Becca Steele, and I'm gonna put this one in a smutty fun time. Honestly, I think when I read it, I rated it 5 stars, but it's really not a 5-star book. It was kind of forgettable and it was like a heat of the moment rating. It definitely was smutty. It definitely was a fun time. This is an enemies to lovers college romance and the boys are roommates, but it definitely was really fun and I liked it, but it's not a 5-star book. This, I Promise You, was a book that I just read in November, and I'm gonna put it in the Go Girl Give Us Nothing category. Was really boring. It's an enemies to lovers college romance, and these two have like mutual friends, so they keep coming into contact with one another. They're attracted to one another even though they hate each other, and eventually they start to fall for one another. It was cute, but I thought it was heavy-handed and overdone, and it really didn't give anything that I haven't had before, so it's going in that category. The next book is called Fresh Ice by Mariana Vivancos. This one I think is actually going to be an immediately no from me. It's an Omegaverse hockey romance, which was just very strange in and of itself. I really didn't like the main character when I was reading this book. I don't know, this one just was not for me. The next book here is Dark Cravings by Joel Abernathy, I believe. I'm gonna put this book in the 5-star category. This is a really cool fantasy romance. It's Omegaverse, enemies to lovers, but it's so much more than just a romance. Like, it's more a fantasy with a side of romance, and it was actually just like a really cool book. It was a really cool world that was created with vampires and shifters and assassins and crazy government organizations, and like, I don't know. It was really good. I liked it a lot. All right, and the very last book is Trust in Me by Luna David. I am also going to put this one in trash, but I'm a dumpster diver. This is like a follow-up to Let Me In. So it's an age gap daddy kink romance. I enjoyed it, but it's trash. So yeah, that is my tier ranking of all the books that I read on KU in 2022. I will do like a slow scroll overview. If you'd like to pause and look at anything, you can do that. I feel like this makes sense to me. I feel like all of these are where they should be. I'm happy about this. All right, and that is all for this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, make sure you give it a like and also subscribe to my channel for more bookish content. I read a lot of queer books and I am doing Vlogmas this month, so there's content coming out every single day of December. I'm super excited about all the videos I have planned. You can also follow me on Instagram and Goodreads as the 2 social media platforms I'm most active other than YouTube. I have those linked in the description down below. Also linked in the description down below is a KU subscription coupon. So if you're interested and you don't have it already, follow that link and that will get you hooked up and help my channel in the process. And I think that's all from me today. So thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate you being here. I hope you have a good rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.